So on to our next question. It's actually challenges in integration. So we spoke about, a lot of stuff, the software side of stuff, how is it like from a design technology perspective on the ground and things like that. So I guess, the next definite question is, how can we integrate it all, and, what sort of challenges that you can actually face. So, what are some of the biggest challenges in integrating new technology seamlessly into an existing workspace? So the thing is that, some people, they're just very comfortable with whatever that they are using. So, how do we do it in a way that you meet the least amount of resistance? Yeah. So maybe Simon, you want to take on this topic?
Yeah. So I'd love to come out with, some really in-depth challenge, but actually one of the biggest challenges is legacy technology and just how interconnected things are now. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you thought about your company 15 years ago and you wanted to install a printing system with the multifunction printing devices, it was very easy. You just find a corner of the office, you put in a multifunction printer in there, right? You just put that new technology in. But now we're not necessarily adding new technologies to the office. We are upgrading component parts in what is effectively a Lego model that has been built, and we want to change that one brick. So you've got to dismantle all the parts, pull it apart just to get to that one, and then put everything back together. And that complexity often puts some people off doing the project. They try and wait, try and leave it for as long as possible. They sometimes miss it, in which means that they then break something in doing a project, or they don't realize the cost of enablement to go through that. So something as simple as, well, you think, okay, I want to upgrade the all-in-one soundbar mic that's in my majority of my meeting rooms. And then you find out that that's connected to the room booking panel. Is it compatible? Okay, we don't know. We need to do that. Oh, turns out we've got to upgrade the room booking panel. Then you find out the room booking panel was interconnected to the lights, and you could control the lights and do stuff like that. Okay, now I need to do that light integration again because I'm swapping out the room booking panel. And then you find out that light system, it was also connected to the indoor air quality, right? So it turned on the air conditioning. Suddenly replacing one thing that you thought was in the meeting room is 3 or 4 other components that now need work, now need engineering work, might have been custom work before. Things are so interconnected now that these projects are not easy anymore. It's not a case of just coming in and doing it. And that is a big complexity. And I think it just requires now this level of upfront planning and preparation that we hadn't seen before. So it slows things down is what I'm seeing in the market at the moment, is that we sort of get a bit of analysis paralysis. I've got to go and work things out. I don't know. Can I go a little bit longer? Can I put off that pain? And we see that in the industry, especially post the dreaded C word of COVID, where there's been a rise of new technologies. And I think this problem is only getting faster and faster for most. I was saying this, we're taking out technology now we put in meetings 3 years ago. When I started technology consulting 25 years ago, I was putting in stuff that had been in for 25 years, right? So if you think about 25-year lifespan down to 3 now, that process of being interconnected and needing to change things is increasing, and that is causing a lot of complexity.
So Paul, maybe you want to add on to that? Yeah.
So I see a couple different challenges. One is, like Simon mentioned, the ability to upgrade. There's legacy protocols or types of platform that you picked that require certain type of cables rather than what's prevalent now, right? So there is a compatibility from hardware perspective, and of course environmentally, that means you have to pull new cables in and you install some new hardware, a power supply here and there. So there is that physical challenge and one aspect, and the other challenge is users' acceptance for new technology. I think that's another barrier to deploying new technology, right? Because there is this element of, it's good enough. It's good enough without realizing how detrimental that legacy technology is contributing to lack of productivity or counterproductivity, right? So this this is good enough. I don't want to go through the pain. I suppose they're sort of connected, right? Because it's the pain versus benefit, and how much they want to overcome that pain to gain that increase in productivity. So it's a measure of what's what. And that's why I think more than ever, selecting the right set of fundamental infrastructure is so critical to ensuring that future extendability and adaptability down the road is important. And creating and choosing technology that can be interchangeable and be added on easily without requiring another PhD degree to make it all work is the key. So I imagine from the manufacturer's perspective, right, someone who can create this type of platform will be leading the future in terms of how the industry evolves.
Yeah, I think the point you raised up about the end users being comfortable with what they already have, I think is basically because they don't know what they don't know.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So they may think that is good enough, but actually there are a lot more options today than they were a couple of years ago. Just a couple of points I want to talk about is that, from a design perspective, the people doing the design today, they don't know that, the parameters have shifted in terms of what's available for technology, which means they have an idea of, camera has to be there, the screen has to be there, the microphone has to be there. But today, that has shifted. Microphones are more dynamic. They can be at different locations. You don't need to make just one provision for cameras. You need to make multiple provisions for multiple cameras with the new systems that are out there, right? And a lot of the time, they will know this. So there has to be a lot of more cross-collaboration in our industry between, what we do as system integrators, what, these guys do in terms of design in order to kind of bridge that gap. Because if we don't tackle the problem now, it becomes a problem later and it becomes harder to solve, right? For, the end users, I think it's a process of not say trying to sell them new technology, but it's more of, presenting the options that are available to them, right? In a way which, doesn't sound like a big sales pitch, right? And I think that's the biggest challenge for us. Some people have a somewhat cynical thought process to this, when you present a new technology. But ultimately, if you make the wrong choice, you're saddled with it for another 5-6 years, and you realize, your competitors, the other organizations that have taken a more forward-thinking approach, right, have made a very, very big impact, to the UC environment, workplace happiness, wellness, productivity, right? So the choices you make today, impact them, in the foreseeable future. Yeah.
I think from a design perspective, these may not be the biggest challenges, but they're challenges I think get overlooked. And that is, once we've designed something, how do we live with it? And I say that is, change management is a big part of what we have to make sure gets attended to, and we have to continue to push with our clients, because something as simple as moving from a Zoom interface to Teams, for instance, if you don't have the proper change management programs in place, you're gonna have that lack of acceptance that you spoke about. And so it's really important that we go through that process with our clients, make sure there's a change management program and protocol in place, and that there's training in place for those things. And then also operationally, we have to make sure that they have accounted for the proper headcount associated with long-term operations of these systems. And then also, contracted the right kinds of service level agreements with the integration teams and the hardware manufacturers to make sure that everything's being serviced properly and that there's local service and they can get to it. So all of those post-occupancy things become something that, again, that can be overlooked but are critical to the success of a program going forward. And then the other thing that's a challenge up front sometimes is this idea that, typically the technology can, from a budgeting perspective, can stick out because a lot of times it's one of the leading cost drivers of a project, especially if it's a large project. And so it's important that as we think about creating the ROI or the business case for technology, it's not just simply around the hardware, but you talked about it earlier. It's creating the use case for it, but also creating a compelling user journey around what it's going to do, the experience it's going to give. That's really the business case that you want to provide, right? It's not just simply,
here's a bunch of hardware, but here's what it's going to do, here's the impact it's going to have, here's the user journey, here's how people are going to use it. So as we think about the integration of technology programs and our design concepts, we have to make sure that it's not just simply a line item on a budget, but that it's depicted in our storyboards. It's part of the narrative relative to the user journeys, so they can see it's an integral part of the process, and that the cost is justified because it's providing the kind of impact and user experience that everyone's looking for.